Here's Brody Brazil.
At this point, I'm pretty sure you've considered all the different questions about a relocation vote by Major League Baseball for the A's to Las Vegas. Questions like, when would this vote take place? What are the elements under consideration for the vote? Which teams might vote yes? Which teams might vote no? What are the reasonings behind it? And so on and so on. But there's one question about it that nobody's really asked that I'm here to discuss. And that is, why hasn't Major League Baseball actually already voted on this? What's the holdup here? The A's in baseball don't have entire control of this process. Like, there are some things out of their hands that need to happen before they can approve it. But at this point, if we're just talking about Major League Baseball's approval of the A's to Las Vegas, don't they have complete control over that? It's no different than if I want a piece of chocolate cake right now. I'm an adult. I can make that happen. Literally nothing can stop me from going to get a piece of chocolate cake right now. I'm in complete control of that. If I do it or I don't do it, but I'm the only one that's going to make it happen, I'm the only one that's going to stop myself from doing it. It is kind of like that with baseball. It is entirely up to them. And there is one thing I do know relating to the A's. They want this vote to happen ASAP. They would do it today if they could. They would have preferred to do it yesterday, so to speak, if they could. This is almost like the relation and the correlation to a sports game with a clock. Maybe baseball too, because there's a finite amount of outs before the game is over. But kind of like a football game, a basketball game, a hockey game, a soccer match, where right now maybe the A's feel like they have the lead. They've got the land situation squared away in Las Vegas. They've got the public funding squared away through the state and Clark County, and there's still some time on the clock. And while that time is on the clock, there's only more opportunity for questions to be asked, speculation to happen, people to let out their feelings, sometimes for, but seemingly mostly against this project and this relocation happening. So the more time that exists doesn't seem like a good thing for the A's in this process. Obviously, that's one reason why they'd like to push it along. There's also the fact that they are already operating on a pretty strict timeline. I know 2028 feels like a long time away, and there's plenty of years between now and then, but this is also a very complicated process and project. They need to knock down a whole Tropicana hotel and resort and clear off 35, 36 acres on the Strip and come up with the design process and construction, and all of that is under a bit of a time crunch already. 2028 is not the most conservative estimate here for when the A's want to be playing baseball. There is a little bit of a rush to still make that happen. So every month between now and then, really the last handful of months, they could have approved this in July or August or September. Every month counts towards a 2028 deadline. There's also the fact the A's want to do this as soon as possible, because as soon as baseball approves it, they can start getting to the business of generating revenue in Las Vegas, selling season ticket packages, working with new business partners down there, maybe opening up a team shop. I'm not sure if they're allowed to do a new logo or sell something different, but they can attempt to start generating new Las Vegas revenue, I would think, the moment this is approved. They want that. They need that. It's all part of their business model. And let's not forget, the A's are the ones behind wanting this vote to happen as soon as possible, because they're the ones that came out and suggested that it's going to happen at these owners' meetings, November 14th through the 16th, in person in Arlington, Texas. To be fair, the Las Vegas Review-Journal came out with those dates and that timing initially, referring to some, I believe, anonymous industry sources and experts, but it initiates with the A's. They're the ones that have kind of called this vote. The question is, Are all the other team owners and baseball in general, are they ready to take this vote? Why haven't they taken this vote already? It remains an interesting question here, and maybe we've just never thought of it like this before. Why hasn't baseball voted yet? I'm going to call your attention to 4 different thoughts on the screen. I don't know if all of them are true or some of them are true. One of them is completely wrong, but I do know that somewhere on this screen is the answer on why Major League Baseball has not voted yet. It could be precisely one of these 4 things. It could be mostly one, also a bit of another one. Who really knows? Other than those on the very, very inner circle of this. But there are these 4 things. It's pretty much these 4 things, and I'll detail some thoughts behind each of them. Number 1, maybe owners feel like they truly need more complete information until they can actually make a responsible decision. I know this is about a different team than the one they own, right? The owners vote. They're voting on the A's, but what does the Mets owner think and care about the Oakland A's? What does a Dodgers owner think? What do the Mariners care or think? And there are ties and relations, but the bigger picture is that owners are all connected in the baseball ecosystem. And kind of like living in a neighborhood, you want everybody to be doing well around you because it only boosts your property value, so to speak, if that's the analogy. So baseball owners don't want a struggling team. They don't want to put a team in a bad spot or situation because they will all kind of pay the price for that. More on that thought later. There's also the thought that maybe all of this has been pre-approved, rubber stamped, so to speak. I see that comment a lot on social media. Maybe the owners are just trying to stretch out this process a little bit to make it appear like they're doing a comprehensive job on it. That'd be unfortunate, but maybe that's it. Third thought is that maybe Major League Baseball owners just didn't want this as a distraction in the second half of their season. Now, the last time the owners met was back in June. And what's crazy is that Rob Manfred said in late May, oh yeah, that vote, by the way, it could happen as early as, I think it was June 11th through the 13th to the 15th, something like that, back in June. Crazy to think that it was even suggested they could do it in June. Here we are approaching mid-November, and we're still not sure if all the elements are in place. But it's possible owners said, look, we know we're going to eventually meet in November. We understand the basic elements at play here. We'll just handle it after all these teams make their playoff push and their postseason runs. I mean, you think about it, there's a committee right now that's doing all the deep research on the A's plans and where they've been and what they want to do. Those 3 teams are the Brewers owner, the Royals owner, and the Philadelphia Phillies owner. Now, the Brewers made the playoffs. They've been in and out of it, Mark Atanasio. But the Phillies owner might be a little bit tied up right now because his franchise likely headed to the World Series. And so how much effort and interest does he really want to put into all of the A's situation while, his team is in the final round of the playoffs, is going to be in the Fall Classic, like most likely at this point. So I could see how some owners would say, you know what, we'll take care of this after the season. That's possible. Last but definitely not least, could it be that there is some approval of the A's to Las Vegas? Some team owners are absolutely okay with it, and they would vote yes right now. But they need a 75% vote to approve. Could it be that the A's right now do not have that 75%? It's a hypothetical, and it's got to be asked. Let's go one by one over all of these 4 different scenarios here. Do owners truly need more complete information? That does seem reasonable, and it would seem like owners would actually be doing diligence to this process. Baseball teams don't move often. It's happened one time in the last 50 plus years. That was Montreal moving to Washington, D.C. And so this is a big deal. This is a heavy decision to make. It is not as simple as the vote. Yep, let's do it. There has to be some consideration across the board here. And we have had generalities of what the A's want to do for quite some time. And that's what makes me wonder, why wasn't the vote taken back in June or July? By the way, they don't need to do this in person. This vote can be taken virtually at pretty much any time. We've all known what the intentions are here for the A's, but I will tell you this, what we don't have are the specifics of, like a blueprint for the ballpark, how much exactly it's going to cost, who and how exactly is going to pay for this from the private side, not so much the public side. Where will the A's play for 2025, 26, and 27? There's a lot of different things under consideration, that the fine details that we just don't even know where to begin on it yet. And so maybe they could have voted if it was going to come down to generalities. They've had that for a while. The specifics we still don't have. By the way, will we have all of them in the next 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 weeks? There's a lot of stuff that needs to come out, or at least needs to be presented to be properly voted on. But maybe it comes down to just a single sticking point. If there really is a holdup on why the vote hasn't happened already, maybe it is that temporary home where the A's will or won't play for 3+ full seasons. 24 is already established in Oakland. 25, 6, and 7, and maybe a little bit beyond, very much uncertain. So that's a possibility that the owners, they just need a few more things checked off their list. The other hypothetical is that the owners are just trying to make this process look complete. And if they take it to the end, it looks like they put some thought and consideration into that. And again, that does seem irresponsible, not just from a critical viewpoint, but also from how they operate in a business sense. As I said before, they're not looking to make rash decisions here. This is a huge deal for baseball. Which team is going to Las Vegas? It's a critical market that was most likely going to get expansion anyway, and a $2 billion expansion fee because of it. And now one team is moving there without a relocation fee, it would seem. And I go back to the sticking points. Maybe that's a sticking point. Everybody's all for this, but only if there's a relocation fee, which was promised there wouldn't be last year by the commissioner. Looking back at the trio of interviews that A's owner John Fisher did a couple weeks ago with a newspaper in Las Vegas, NBC television here in California, and also ESPN on the national level, maybe some of that was strongly suggested, if not required, by the group of owners to get out there in front of the media, document your story, and kind of make the process feel a little bit more robust and complete. And one would only think that the next part of this process to really make it feel real and official to be voted on would be releasing renderings and blueprints and that 75% concept design. Like, here is exactly what it's going to look like, and to kind of whet people's appetite about what the A's are hoping to do at the Tropicana site. I don't discount the fact that the more time passes, the more it appears baseball is doing a comprehensive job in evaluating this potential relocation. But maybe to what some have suggested, this is something that's already been pre-approved, and we're just watching it play out a lot slower in real time than it's actually happening behind the scenes. That thought about owners really didn't want the distraction of the A's and their situation in the second half of the regular season and also going into the postseason. I do believe there is some reality here. I said before that there were 4 reasons and maybe one of them was it, but it could be a combination of a few of them. I think this almost has to be included in a combination to anything else that might actually be truthful. There is some reality that owners just maybe didn't feel like dealing with this during their seasons. There is an unwritten rule about announcing baseball news during the playoffs. Now, you have heard about some front office moves, some manager moves. They try and limit that to a minimum because those things do need to happen. Teams need to move on from individuals. Some individuals need to move on from their situations. But you largely don't hear about the hirings, like the part that is in everybody's control, the announcements behind those. You really don't hear about those until basically November, after the World Series is over, and mostly before baseball's winter meetings at the beginning of December. It's kind of an unwritten rule that you do not want to take anything away from baseball's playoffs if you don't have to. And I'll definitely tell you that nobody's supposed to step on the toes of the World Series. That is baseball's ultimate stage. Now, the commissioner, Rob Manfred, is going to do his annual press conference right before the start of the World Series. And he is going to be asked, I guarantee, probably in detail about the A's situation. That's kind of obligatory. That's going to happen. But in terms of Oakland saying much, or the A's saying much, or Las Vegas saying much, or baseball saying much, anything else about the A's during the World Series, they do not want that to come up at all. And so I think it does fit the bigger picture of the timing is not right for all the owners to actually put some thought and consideration into this. And as I told you before, they had their last meetings in person in June, and their next ones are coming up in Arlington, Texas, the 14th through the 16th of November. So they've known all along that there would be this chance. The big question is, are the A's in baseball actually ready for this vote to happen? Are they prepared for it as much as they want or need to be? Okay, here's the biggest one of them all. Is it a possibility that 75% yes votes are not out there right now? It's a distinct possibility when you consider everything that's under consideration. It's not only the A's relocation, it's the lack of a relocation fee, the lack of any expansion fee for Las Vegas, the competitive balance tax that the A's benefit from. If they don't get a new situation by early January 2024, the A's are off basically what everybody calls revenue sharing. Owners can't take that away from the A's, but if they don't approve the A's move, at this point, they can take that away from the A's. Some teams may want that to be the case. And as I said before, there could be a lot of teams right now that say, sure, go do it. Las Vegas is for you, and it's for us. But if it's a 50-50 split in baseball right now, that's nowhere close to approval. They need 75%. And you think about owners, a lot of them are pretty shrewd negotiators. Do they ever take the first offer that's given to them? This team, with these plans, on this timeline, and that process. What if they want some refinements? Maybe that's a reason why the vote hasn't already happened yet. Maybe it's not as simple as they'll just agree to whatever the A's have decided is best for them. I might have stepped on my own material here by mentioning before that there is no way to take the competitive balance tax benefits away from the A's. It's written in the CBA. But this is a way to put it to an end if they vote no. And relocation indeed means no expansion fee for Las Vegas. Baseball does want to expand by 2 more teams by the time this decade is over. And Las Vegas, if the A's weren't considering it, sure might be a prime market to move to. Now, therein lies the difference. An expansion team may not line up only 9 acres at the site of the Tropicana Hotel, like the back parking lot of the Tropicana. An expansion team might do it differently. Look at what the NBA might be planning for Las Vegas. The Oakview Group has 66 acres, I think a mile or so, like south of the strip proper. An arena, a development, a $12 billion development. That's what the NBA is doing. But baseball cannot get almost a for sure $2 billion from somebody that wants a team in Las Vegas because they'll let the A's go there without a relocation fee. And let me just say, this wouldn't be the first time in recent months alone that the A's wanted something and needed a yes vote on it, but didn't have the yeses lined up. Let's remember that Nevada legislative session, the regular session, right? SB 509 was the A's language to get $380 million of public funding for their stadium. The Senate and the Assembly basically let time expire. In the regular session, they did not bring up SB 509. In fact, it never left the Finance Committee. It was supposed to be done right then, right there. But the governor, Joe Lombardo, in the state of Nevada, brought everybody back. After 5-6 months of their legislative session every other year, he brought them all back for a special session that cost, I believe, a couple $1 million and lasted almost a week. And he brought them back to vote on this. And even then, there was a weekend where it looked like the vote wasn't going to pass. They did, I believe, what's called horse trading. Put some old bills out there, combined them with SB 1, which is ultimately what passed. They kind of greased the wheels of politics. And just like that, the A's went from not having a vote in Nevada, not having the vote they wanted, to having the vote that they wanted. So again, it wouldn't be the first time. If you think this is far-fetched, that the A's don't have approval here, it could be not happening. It could be happening. I'm just saying it is definitely a distinct possibility. You can't say for sure it is or is not happening. And I totally understand that baseball is enticed by public contributions, $380 million of public funding to this project. But there's a lot of other things to consider in addition to that factor. So why hasn't MLB voted? Again, this part is totally up to them. Nobody's telling them they can or can't vote or they need to vote on this or that. They get to make up the rules to this kind of as they go. It doesn't happen often, and they're in complete control. So it hasn't happened for a reason. We don't know yet what that reason is. You made it here to the end of the video. You know I appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. That'll help out the channel. And also, hey, don't forget to subscribe so I can definitely see you back here next time.